One. Hi, this is Matt Boxler with Access Consciousness, and today we're hosting a live Google Hangout with Rachel O'Brien and Sarah Keene, and the topic today is love, sex, and relationship. Turning it over to you, ladies.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Hi, Rach.
Hi.
Well, I'm really looking forward to your workshop in almost 2 weeks, and so I thought I'd have a chat with you a little bit about it and what's coming up for it or what you've planned.
First of all, thanks for taking the time out and being willing to host me. And what have I planned? You know, Sarah, I don't do a lot of planning other than we connected about a year and a half ago, and we just had this like instant draw to each other, and we had this fun bubbling energy. And at the time, you had said to me, you said, "You've got this ease around people and this ease with being in your body, and I really would like some of that." And I said to you, "Okay,
Yeah,
let's do it." And at the
I
time, it was
remember.
like,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
I just
go."
remember how light you were and how fun it was. Like you were flirting with guys. It was just light, and where I would see that in the past, I used to have a lot of kind of contraction and feel all stiff and rigid, and I just saw this freedom and I knew it was possible. Now so much has changed for me in the last 2 years in that regard, but I just felt you've such a gift with that capacity and I'd love to learn more about it. So yeah, so
But
what
that
kind
day, if I remember well, what actually occurred that day was we were in a room and we were doing a share. We were gifting and retreat. We were gifting and receiving energy therapies. And there was a couple of guys walked into the room, and I was like, "Hey, can you get this for us? And can you get that for us?" And they got so happy because we were asking them. And every single thing on this planet like says, "Ask and you will receive." And for me, even today, I've got a sore throat and a little bit of stuff going on with my head, nose cold or whatever. And it's like before reading the ask and receive, it's like, what about if every time we ask someone for something that it actually is a gift to them? And I
yeah,
got this, yeah, totally. Like I got this years ago, and I just remember asking for someone for help. And prior to that, I grew up in a family whereby my mother was sick on and off, and my father was long gone. So, and I was the eldest, and I had a younger sister, Rhonda, who I adored. I absolutely, she was just she just was my light in the morning. She was the thing that got me out of bed. And so, therefore, I was used to looking after everything by myself. And
yeah.
I thought that was like a strength, and it was like, I don't know, I thought that was the only way that I could be in the world.
You kind
And
of think you're doing somebody a favor. Straight away, my granny is coming to mind. Like it's such a gift to allow her feed you. Like if Granny knows she can put a dinner in front of you or feed you, you're actually
absolutely.
gifting her. She doesn't like when you take. She just yeah. I could totally understand the dynamic of. Yeah, it's doing somebody something good when they can give to you. Yeah.
Totally. And I remember you saying to me, you have this ease with communication with men. I really enjoy women. I just adore my girlfriends. I happen to have a lot of girlfriends that support me. I'm hosting a big workshop in Ireland this weekend, and I woke up sick today. I got support from you last night. I got another support from a friend of mine called Marion Murphy. I got my friend Amy is coming to give me a treatment later. Another friend of mine, Maureen. So like how much of a gift I'm always giving. That's just the way people like you and me are built. I give without even the way some people have to think. I'm not like that.
Yeah.
It Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like a natural thing for me to I used to make that a wrongness. Whereas it's a natural thing for me to just take the other person into account and to look and I see do anything to help them.
And I
So
think you're touching on a really important point here then, because that leads to, and this is where I think I shut down a lot was it was okay when it was me sending it out, like giving, but it was like suddenly I'd freeze up when it was my turn to receive, when it was, so say in relation to you flirting with the guys and the lightness and the fun, it was like there used to, this by the way is kind of old stuff for me now, but it's what triggered this workshop. But
And
I
it's
used to when I was
it's
receiving, it was like I'd be uncomfortable with receiving. So sorry there.
well, no, it's great what you're saying, because how many of us in this world have been taught to receive? I mean,
Yeah,
if we're gifting, and even like that, ask and it is given. If you're gifting all the time, where's the space for you to receive? I mean, we talk about this universe and we talk about like that it's like a banquet. I mean, if we're gifting all the time, where is the space for the universe to gift us what it would like to gift us with? And
yeah,
the other thing with that is like, can you imagine, like for me, it's like I totally get what you're saying. The giving was so natural, but the receiving not so much. And can you
yeah,
imagine if I wrapped up, like I adore you, and can you imagine like if I got lovely scented, you know, doTERRA oils, which I love for my body, which my friend Sarah, introduced me to, and Ida. So can you
yeah.
imagine if I knew that your body would like this, and you spoke to me energetically, and I went and I got it and I wrapped it, and then a friend of mine, Jar Wusner, makes the most gorgeous face creams and products that like help your body, and she makes them out her back. So can you
Wow.
imagine me getting a box of gifts together and wrapping it up in the most beautiful paper and putting a big bow on it and going, here, Sarah? And can you imagine you going, no? So there's,
After you go through the effort, and yet there's this instinctive kind of like, yeah, it's just, yeah. And how can a relationship function when it's only one way? And I think this is so relevant to Irish women, especially mothers, where you're just hardwired for giving, 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 and looking after everyone, and then putting yourself totally last. Well, it's just maybe
and
it's a point of view. I don't know if it's an awareness, but
yeah, and the other
what?
thing And the other thing in that, Sarah, I grew up with a lot of women that actually criticized men. And for me, that was like, I was very aware from a very young age. And I'd look at my grandmother, I had an uncle, and she used to like treat him like a baby, totally, I would call like disable him, really, because she didn't enable him. So she'd be shifting to make dinner, and when he'd be coming in, she'd be like, oh, I have to make the dinner. And then she
Yeah,
would wrong for that and resent him. And I used to think as a little kid, he actually
there's
didn't
something
ask
wrong.
for it. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I'd look at him and I'd see how he was shrinking rather than becoming a man. And it's so interesting because for me now it's like I have a lot of men in my life, and I have to say I find relationship with men really easy. They're really simple. And you must remember, like, how many, like, at the end of the day, men were birthed from women and from women's womb. And when a little boy looks at his mother, my own son adores me. And when he was a little boy, like, he'd come in and he'd put his, like, hand up my leg. Myself and Matt have spoke about this. And how much does that little boy, like, look to make his mother happy or contribute to her in any way? So for me, when I ask guys in my life can you help me with this? Or can you help me with this? They're like, of course I can help you. It's like that's the space where they can actually be the men that they can truly be. And how much of me not asking a man to help me is me actually not allowing a man to be that? Because I don't
I'm
know
not
about you,
allowed to. Yeah,
absolutely. And how much of a kindness is them is like I really am only beginning, and I say that I'm only beginning. I'm only beginning to see how much a gift receiving is. I had so many
yeah,
friends, I had so many friendships that the person would disappear. And I remember being in a workshop in Canada years ago, and someone said to me, "How do you? I wonder, like, have you ever really looked at, how your friends disappear?" And I was like, I give so much, and then I get pissed off. And I was like, what? That
You
makes no
just
sense.
explained the Irish mammy. Like you just explained. That's what I was going to say earlier on. It's like you give, 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 give to the point that you're so burnt out, and then what's left is just this kind of nearly smoldering resentment or almost bitterness. Not always, like it's not conscious. Like sometimes it's deeper, and just this sense of tiredness and frustration. And yeah, it's just that imbalance. It's so interesting to learn.
And
So, Rach, how did you learn to receive? Is that what we'll be
will I
working on?
be really honest with you? The whole receiving
Yeah.
thing to me is I've started practicing it. Like both you and me teach fitness and I teach Pilates. I mean, I didn't even know what my core was 10 years ago. Actually, no, I trained in 2002, so 12 years ago. It's practice. It's
Yeah.
seeing that it's really being present with yourself and seeing how much you like to give, 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 and then becoming aware of how uncomfortable it is when you receive. So if you look at it
You
this way, right?
mentioned like compliments. I wrote an article last year on my blog just even about compliments and unwillingness to receive like energy on any level, not even just the physical. It's like whacking them back as soon as they came, but yet in your heart it's what you wanted, or it's like on some level, you know,
That makes
ultimately like what we're all seeking is that love and
yeah.
security and safety and
It's so funny, you can, when you're an aware being and a kind person, you can bring that into any aspect of your life. I have this beautiful girl that comes to me for Pilates. Her name is Emma. She's stunning. And she's been coming to my classes for like a year now, I think. And every week I'd always say, you look beautiful and la la la. And last night, there was other people in the room, and I said to her, my God, you look beautiful, Emma. She's stunning. And she turned around and she said, thanks. And I went, what? And the whole room started laughing. I was like, holy shit. I was like, that is the first time you have ever received a compliment from me. And she was
yeah.
so happy. And
Um,
yeah, like I joke, my Jessie, my daughter, who you've met, who's 21, nearly 22, works in our local supermarket in Glanmire in Cork. And I go into the girls and I say, you look beautiful, or, and they genuinely, like the girls today look beautiful. And they'd
yeah,
say, oh,
see their
my,
makeup and hair. They look
yeah.
amazing. I often joke with one of my best friends, Emma. We joke about my little cousins. They're like 16, 17, and they know how to do like the most amazing eye makeup and do their hair. I think like I was 24 and we were still going around in baggy pants and hoodies and we just didn't have a clue. But I
Oh,
guess, that ties in. This ties in because I feel I didn't really mention also like part of part of what is so cool about this is the willingness to be feminine and to be in that sensual feminine energy. That was another thing I felt that I would like to learn more about because being into fitness and I adored my dad. So there was like I adore my mom too, but like my dad, there was such aspiring to that male energy of go out, do everything, action, depend on yourself, strength, everything that we've touched on already. And I felt there was an imbalance there. And I set a strong intention about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, that I wanted to have more of that, lovely feminine energy. You know what you were talking about? I'm raving on now, but when you mentioned
yeah.
about having female friends.
Yeah. Can I just go back to one thing first and then I come to this?
Yeah,
So
of
I go
course. Yeah, yeah, sorry.
question. No, no, we'll hop, and I love that because that's just how conversations go when friends talk. So I'd go into the supermarket and I'd admire the girls, and they'd always say, "Oh, this is crap," or "This is crap," and I used to say to them, "I wonder would it work better for you if I told you you look like shit?" And they'd start roaring laughing. So what if that was me actually being willing to show them, that you are comfortable, actually, you're more comfortable with someone saying you look like crap than someone saying you actually look beautiful.
Yeah.
And by
Hadn't
me
thought about
just, yeah, well, you know what though, how many people do tell us you actually look gorgeous, you know? In this world, we're always striving for a crazy perfection which doesn't exist in my world. So basically, when we're struggling for something else, we're never receiving ourselves as we are. and we have no gratitude, which means that we're not actually like grateful for our bodies just even getting up. You know, for me today, a little bit of work to do in the morning. The sun is shining where I live. I'm sitting on a lovely cream couch with my lovely computer. So all that striving is taken away from this moment, and it's like a boomerang. You know those boomerangs? That's like
Yeah,
pulling you into it's your mind taking you into the future or the past,
constantly.
and never actually allowing you just to be. And that
Yeah,
to me,
enjoy what's happening right now. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And you know that gifting and receiving thing, you know, and ask and you receive. Like I've never been as aware as the last 6 months of how much everything is provided for. And no matter what my mind does, like my mind
when,
creates
when
this sense of
you're
lack
with
and urgency,
me.
mind always on the future, aspiring, you know. But if you take a moment and think back, even if it's over the last 6 months, a year, it all works out. Like everything's fine, and like we joke, even down to the last minute, and suddenly you'll be able to create your, you know, money. I guess it's
Listen,
just having more to go with it.
source energy. I can sit here today, and I'm not saying that I don't go to fair sometimes. I'm not saying that I don't struggle in life. I'm a mother. I have 3 kids. I have an ex. I've had a lot of stuff change in my life. At the end of the day, right here, right now, I absolutely have to bear witness to the fact that when I create my source energy, whatever you want to call it, God, creation, you, we are part of that. There
Yeah.
is no separation from
Chi
me.
energy.
Whatever it is for you, you know. Some people call it angels, whatever that energy is. For me, when I have asked for help, it has never not shown up. Down
Mm.
to like simple things like I admired a friend of mine who had a Michael Kors bag and I thought it was beautiful, and my mom just come back from Spain and bought me one.
No
Like,
way.
yeah, like
Yeah,
things like
that's pretty good.
things like
But
I
that's
was
it. Oh, the love. That I know why that's so. It's love. Like so. What I've been aware of in recent years, it's like
and you said
yeah,
something
it's
there. Can
feeling
I hold
that
you there
love
for a
energy.
second? Can I hold you there for a second? The
Yeah,
other thing I've become aware of is, and this is for me, if I can't give that love and caring and nurturing to myself, and if I can't be an allowance of me as I am, I actually can't give it to anyone else. And
yeah.
the
So true.
people that I surround myself with usually have an ability to, they have a kindness and a caring that blows my mind. And the other thing is, I made a commitment to myself a year ago that in relationships, I would never make the other person wrong ever again. So when you're not willing to make the other person wrong, that actually, that really demands a presence, and it
Massive.
also demands you to be
And take free action
brutally
out of
honest. Yeah, it demands you to be brutally honest about what works for you and about what doesn't work for you.
it. So there's a differentiation. Just because you don't make the person wrong doesn't mean you don't let them abuse you, or you, but you can still see what they're doing and see what works for you. And it's like I
Well,
guess
you
you're interested in boundaries there, like
yeah, well, you
kind of.
tipped on something there. A negative awareness is not a judgment. They're very
Yeah,
different things. When I have an
yeah.
awareness, if someone is roaring, like someone was roaring and screaming at me a while back, I mean, that is not okay for me to actually like. That's not kind to me and my body. So for me, I'll receive that. I look at it, and if it doesn't work for me, I won't stay there because that person is in full flight. That doesn't work. Or if
Well,
someone's
maybe not make the person wrong then.
because you're aware that it just doesn't work for you, but you're in total allowance of what they're choosing. But I'm not willing to put my body
You're
there.
not going into judgment. You're not getting sticking yourself with it. You're not kind of yeah,
I
yeah.
just
So
go,
you're just being
wow,
really comfortable.
yeah. It's like I'll just go, wow, that's interesting. I'm not gonna. That's not for me. You know. And even too, Sarah, I would have like hooked up with a lot of guys that didn't know how to look after me in the way that I actually would like to be looked after. And now it's like I date a lot, and when it comes to dating, I know what I like. I know I like a guy to take me to dinner. I know I like a guy to open the car door. I know I like a guy to, like, surprise me and do a bit of romance. I bring a lot to a relationship, so it's like I'm willing to receive that for me, that when you're around me, your life, the chances are that you'll get happier, and I'm extremely kind. So for me to bring that to someone, then they have to be willing to be that kindness for me as well.
And so you're starting to ask more of your relationships and ask more. Cool. Oh my
And
God, right? Imagine a whole day of this rambling and
another one for me is my mom, right, is one of these real caretaker Irish mommies, and she loves to cook and clean. So for years, my mom would have come to my house to mind my kids when I worked, twice a week she used to come. And I had this like residual guilt, which is a lie. All guilt, all shame, they're all lies that don't allow you to be you. And they're just a programming from our genetics. Genetics is what's passed down from one generation. And we're Irish chicks, so we were raised with Catholicism. And guilt is just like pouring concrete around your feet. So it's like my mother loves to, like, I'd have this guilt about my mom's come to clean my house. My mother wasn't able to financially contribute to me. And when I was a kid, she would be quite sick. So now, her way of being there for her daughter now is cleaning, cooking. She loves to cook for my two teenagers, helping me out in any way. When I don't allow her to be that, she actually gets quite upset and hurt. So, I mean,
yeah.
People laugh at me when I show up. When I go to my mom's house, she starts cooking and she'll say, "Can I cook something for Aoife and Dara?" If receiving that is actually a gift to her. We don't take into account that when I receive, what happens in that world, what happens in that person's world. If I didn't receive, like you've helped me out the last 2 nights because I've had this throat thing going on, and I've had stuff come up for me as well, which we have stuff buried in ourselves that we put in place at a very young time, and in the womb as well. I mean, our programming starts in the womb. So it's like, can you imagine if I wasn't willing to let you into my world?
Yeah, and then you get stuck with that, and yeah. And it's also, how good it feels when you give. Like, it's I used to mess like with friends years ago that I was being selfish by giving, because I just used to love giving so much. So if there's not people there to receive, then the cycle can't go right. So yeah. Cool. So
Sarah, today is, as we go into this workshop, because you're going to be there too, I'm wondering how you can receive the gift of what you are.
Yeah.
It's so funny, you did something with me on the call the other night, and you said to me, would you be willing to receive even 2% of the gift that you be? And I walked down to my home, my ex lives in a house that we had together, and my daughter Aoife was there last night, and I walked into the house, and every year for my kids' birthdays, I love poetry, so I used to write little rhymes. So basically, I thought I didn't realize that she kept them. And last night she had a poem out that I wrote when she was like 9, and it was all about how this little girl could look through me with her eyes and show me so much joy, and just I had this demand on myself the world to be a kinder place for her. And last night, she's 16 now, and she had that piece of paper out, and I was like, wow. Every year I would have spent hours the night of the eve of their birthday just writing down this
poems. Isn't that beautiful? That's cool. That's really, really
well,
cool.
was I receiving,
it's funny you say this, like, it's like you can know it all in theory, and I think a lot of people, even who listen, are really, really aware, and it's just that bridge between. But they are, but so aware of all this, like, and
but living it.
But it's the action.
There's
it's living it.
Is living this work.
What's that on?
Walk the walk. You can talk the talk all you
want. I can say it to you, like, okay, so this is our second run at the talk, because the first one was I crumbled and I made a mess of it, and I was the most vulnerable I've ever been. I felt like, I just want right to the camera.
And
And
you still showed up. Can I just honor you and say that you had still the willingness to show up in that place?
yeah, yeah, but at the same time, when
But
we chatted afterwards, you know,
receive,
everything I said to you. Sorry, hon?
are you
What was that?
receiving that I just said?
No, I'm not receiving it. I was straight away, I was like, no, I'm not gonna listen to it. But, but it was like, yeah, I was so, how you can be so crystal clear aware for somebody else. Like I can see straight through what's going on for people, and then when it comes like that, like even just there, where I was just not willing to receive something nice that you were saying, or this block to, yeah, why do we have such a freaking block to being great? Like Irish people
So
just,
a
you know,
question that never helps is why? Because why? Straight away, where does it put you?
yeah, and your mind starts looking for the reasons. So,
And
okay,
you
cool. So
figure it
what
out.
would it take? What would it take then to scrap all the crap about feeling not worthy and not good enough and
So
totally what would it
what?
take to feel totally deserving? That'd be
So
cool.
would you like to change this now, Sarah?
Would I like to what?
Change
Would I
this
like to
now.
finish it?
No, would you
Yeah,
like
I
to?
would love it.
Would you like to change this
No,
now?
yeah, I really would because I'm tired of it. It's nonsense
Okay.
and I don't want to be this way anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you willing to actually receive me?
Yeah.
So what I would like you to take away from today is you, in all what came up for you, in the running away, in not wanting to be here, you chose to stay present and to show up.
Yeah.
Now, for me, that has been the biggest gift in my relationships. Are you now willing to actually be that for you and to receive
Yeah.
that takes a bravery beyond what most people are willing to be?
It's a, it's an emotional
Yes
one.
or no?
Like it's a real
Yes or
emotional
no?
one. Can I
Yes
share
or
something
no?
I heard in a movie the other night? It was actually, I don't think I
You
enjoyed
stop.
the movie,
You stop.
but it was a quote, and it was like, courage is not the absence of fear. Please, I share, right? It was like courage isn't the absence of fear, but it's the knowledge that something else is greater or something else is of more value. I don't know where the original quote came from, and I just heard it in
The
a movie.
original quote is courage is not the absence of fear, it's the awareness of fear and to walk with it. Something like that. I saw it years
Okay,
ago
cool.
at the centre in
Yeah,
Liverpool. And it's the
yeah.
willingness to put the fear and still take a step forward.
And that something else is more valuable, and I guess I don't guess. I know that I'm done with not feeling good enough and not deserving. So yeah,
Yay! Yay for that. So
yeah. And
thanks
how much cooler would I be then to be in a relationship? You know what I mean? And yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
So listen, I think that's all for today because I have
Thank you
another.
so much, Rach.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much gratitude and thanks to Matt for hosting this whole event and putting his time in and willing to facilitate us. So thank you.
Thank you,
Oh,
Matt.
you're welcome, ladies. I really enjoyed the vulnerability and everything that you all kind of broke into and moved through the whole call. It was quite an adventure and journey just to kind of receive you guys doing what you do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Okay.
Talk to you soon.
Over and out.
Thanks,
Bye.
See
guys.
you.
Lovely.
Bye.